Welcome back. The year is 1995. While the world was busy installing Windows 95 using a mountain of floppy disks, I was sitting in front of the same beige computer tower we talked about last time. It still smelled like ozone and a hint of overheating plastic. Let's talk about the 10 titles that changed everything. In 1995, we finally got to be Kyle Katarn. This was the moment we realized these games could actually have a plot. Something more than just killing everything that moves. It introduced the Jedi engine, which allowed us to look up and down. A feature so advanced at the time, it felt like discovering a fourth dimension. I spent way too many hours getting lost in the Imperial sewers, proving that even in a galaxy far, far away, level designers were obsessed with waste management. I was experiencing my very first bout of motion sickness. This game threw the concept of up out the window and gave us 6 degrees of freedom. Everything was fully three-dimensional, which was unheard of. Navigating those mines was a masterclass in claustrophobia. And I am fairly certain my brain is still somewhere in those tunnels, trying to find the exit before the reactor blows. If Heretic was Doom with magic wands, then Hexen was the sophisticated older brother who went to a fancy college. It introduced a hub-based system that required more backtracking than a politician during an election year. Choosing between the fighter, the cleric, or the mage felt like a massive life decision. It was not just about shooting, it was about pulling a lever on one map to open a door on a completely different one, which taught me more about patience than school ever did. This game was a chaotic fever dream. It featured a god mode where you literally played as a giant hand throwing lightning. It was obsessed with ludicrous kills and trampolines. It proved that 1995 was the peak year for developers just throwing everything at the wall to see what stuck. It was loud. It was messy, and it ran on my computer like a caffeinated squirrel. Long before they gave us Skyrim, Bethesda gave us the terrifyingly grey world of the Terminator. This was one of the first games to use true three-dimensional environments and mouse aiming, the holy grail of modern control. Exploring the ruins of the city felt genuinely desolate, especially when a hunter-killer appeared on the horizon. It was a stressful experience for a child, but it taught me an important life lesson. If it glows red and has metal teeth, run. While the world was getting used to the launch of eBay, I was obsessed with the gore of Witch of Knife. This game focused on brutal close-quarters combat. It was dark, it was clunky, and incredibly atmospheric. There was something uniquely satisfying about swinging a broadsword in the first person, even if the hit detection was more of a polite suggestion than a hard rule. This was a bizarre blend of comic books, role-playing elements, and driving tanks. It had a story so dense I needed a manual the size of a phone book just to understand the intro. You had a magic gem embedded in your forehead that gave you superpowers, which, in 1995, was the coolest thing imaginable. William Shatner's. Yes, Captain Kirk himself put his name on a shooter, and it was surprisingly ahead of its time. It featured a semi-open world and civilians that you were not supposed to shoot, a difficult concept for a kid raised on pure carnage. You could even ride the subway between districts. The actors looked like they were trapped in cardboard boxes, but it dared to dream of a more interactive world. The ultimate Doom. We cannot talk about 95 without mentioning the definitive release of The King. This version added the Thy Flesh Consumed episode, which was basically the developers saying, "We heard the game was too easy. So here is a nightmare. Playing this on my original machine felt like a ritual." Even as the newer games became more advanced, the sheer speed of Doom reminded us why we fell in love with the genre in the first place. To finish our list, we have Eradicator, a game that proved 1995 was the year of experimentation. It offered 3 different characters and even let us switch to a third-person view, which was mind-blowing at the time. The level design was complex, the weapons were inventive, and it had a gritty atmosphere that perfectly captured the mid-90s spirit. If you enjoyed this trip down a very pixelated memory lane, then hit that subscribe button and join our growing club of digital archaeologists.